Okay, perfect. All right, well let's go ahead and get started then. Hello everyone. I'm Alex Renneman from Unleashed Tigert, and I'm here with Orville Wright, who's running for Taylor County Commissioner in the Western District. Orville, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Alex. I appreciate the opportunity to come and share with you, and I appreciate what you do to enhance this with the community.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. You know, we've done this for many years, but the need for having another way for candidates to get out to the constituents this year in COVID has been no more pronounced than this very year. I want to take a moment in case folks are tuning in to this live on Facebook now. Well, not Facebook now, but live on Facebook. If you have questions, something you'd like for me to ask of the candidate, please, go ahead and submit that, and we'll try to get that done. We do have a list of questions that we've called from the public that have interest in this race, and so we'll be asking those. Why are we doing this? Well, we've done this for many elections now, and the main goal here is about creating transparency and accountability for our public officials. And it's really just as much for the candidates to be able to express who they are to the constituents as it is for constituents to be able to hear from the very words or from the mouth of the candidate who they are, what they're about, and a little more long form than maybe just a soundbite over a radio or a TV ad or a print ad. Those all things are good, but this is a little more of a long form approach. And so we've hopefully you enjoy it. We found that lots of good feedback from the community for doing this. I will add, we asked both candidates in this race to join, and we weren't the other candidate wasn't able to join us, and so here we are. We've got Orville single out, so you get all the time, and let's go ahead and get started with that. And let me ask. When I ask this question, I always feel like I've got to couch it with all this stuff. COVID has created all kinds of disarray this year, and obviously there's a lot of heavy, serious things that go along with that. But I want to take a moment on the lighter side of COVID and say, what has this COVID experience brought to you that maybe gave you an opportunity to learn something new or start a new hobby or rekindle something that you hadn't had time to do, or maybe just didn't think about at the time before COVID? Is there something that you've been able to pull out as a positive from all this experience?
Well, I think basically, we have to understand that COVID is real, and it is a serious disease. And but I think what it really has brought out is a closeness. I think it's brought the community together. It's brought all these different organizations that's working with the disease together. I know we used to have bi-weekly. Now it's down to weekly telephone conference calls with the health department and the Office of Emergency Management. And of course, the Board of Education is deeply involved with the health of their students. The health department did run tests over at the parking lot of Grafton High School. Now that has moved to First Baptist Church out on Route 119 South. It's pulled the churches together. It's pulled various organizations together. I know the Rotary Club has volunteered to assist in registering people coming through to get their test. I think really what it has done, it's really brought us together, not as a community, but as a Taylor County family.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I think families around the world have had that similar experience. That there's a lot more bikes and hiking and all kinds of things that families are doing together that maybe they didn't do so much beforehand as well. So let's stay on the COVID thread. I got a few questions around that. There's no getting around it, but we're going to try to start there. Maybe we can get off on some other things in a minute. How should we? This exposed all kinds of issues in our systems and our leadership and everything across the board, from national on down, global on down to local. What are things that we've learned, that you've learned? You are the current commissioner in this seat. What are things you've learned in this experience that maybe we should have done better? And I'm not trying to point fingers back, but what are we maybe doing better to be more prepared in the future for maybe another pandemic, God help us, but or any kind of maybe a disaster or something that maybe this has brought to light that maybe we need to be a little more prepared and that you're planning to do in your next term?
I think we need to pay more attention to our public health officials, our doctors, and even those who, the CDC, local health department. I know Dr. Bender has basically been involved with the health department. He is our lead medical professional on this. I think we need to just listen to their words. When the CDC says, wash your hands and social distance, wear masks, this, that, and the other, I think we need to abide by those laws. I mean, we've seen things that's occurred, especially in our neighboring county, in Monongalia County, where the governors had to go in and shut down certain businesses because they weren't abiding by the statutes. And I think we just need to pay attention and really take this seriously. I know a lot of people still don't take this COVID seriously, but it is a serious matter. That's why we require, face masks when we go into the courthouse or in the annex. They take temperatures so everyone goes in, and even the elected officials, everyone has to go through that routine. But I think we just need to pay attention to all these regulations, to health professionals and such, because I'm not a health professional. I taught health education in school, but that's nothing, anywhere near what's needed today with this pandemic.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, this again, you talk about bright spots potentially with COVID, and we look at a community like ours. Many cities right now, and cities aren't going to die. Cities aren't going to die from this, but many cities are having. There are many people who are deciding, I'm going to move out of the city now. There's remote schooling, there's remote work. People are more comfortable with remote working. They are looking for communities potentially just like Grafton, just like Taylor County, to Flemington, whoever, where they can get in as long as they have some essentials, broadband, which we'll get to in a minute, and some other things. So what are you as a commissioner, if you're fortunate enough to be reelected, what is it that you're looking to do, or what have we done to potentially plan or create that environment that's out there? And in Unleashed Tiger, we call it the landing pad for folks that are looking for a place. Where can they land? Where they land here in our community and bring their goodness to our community. What are you planning to do there, or what's your perspective around that whole concept?
Well, what we've done, we've tried to advertise the county. We have great resources especially with Tigard Lake and such. People come in from the tri-state area, basically on a weekly, basis. On the weekends, people are here. We've worked with our Convention and Visitors Bureau. Now we had to not really dissolve ours, but we've taken it to another level with Preston County and Monongalia County. We're also working with the Mountaineer Trail Network. Even right now, we're working closely with the city of Grafton to develop a walking trail that's going to go through Main Street and down through Front Street and make the loop. And we're planning on building sidewalks on Front Street and also enhance the lighting. We had some concerns about doing a rails to trail up on Grand Street, but that really is still tied up in the court system. We don't really know who owns what up there. And then on the other hand, we're concerned about a liability issue as well. But we're really trying to sell Taylor County. You mentioned earlier about people changing their lifestyles. I know there's been a lot of people buying RVs, and going back to our state parks, and that's really enhanced up here at the Tigard State Park. It's probably been 3 weeks ago, I met with Amy Summers and the governor, and Sam Jerkins and I went up when they come in, and they're going to do some renovations at the lodge and continue to do some additional parking and such at the marina area. So things are in the works. It's just going to take time.
Yep, you can count me in that mix of people who are looking at an RV and got out and got to see some of the country this year. Along these same lines, you talk about the outdoor activities and those things. We have a question from Facebook. Becky J is talking about the reality, and I don't think she says this, but I'll jump in. It's not going to go away tomorrow. This is going to be with us for a while, and so maybe these investments do make sense. And her question really is around the need that this is exposing for outside entertainment. And so you mentioned the walking trails. Are there any other plans for maybe an outdoor arena or some kind of outdoor entertainment center here in the Taylor County area?
Well, as far as buildings, you mean something like a convention center or something of that nature?
I think more outdoor based, where it can still be kind of social distanced and those kind of things, whether it's an amphitheater or something like that.
Well, we're hoping that, they used to have music in the park. We hope that that's put back into place. Also down here on Main Street, we used to have Main Street Live. We had theater. That's a little park down here. When we used to have each Friday night, we would come in and visit Grafton, downtown area. We're hoping to continue to do so, hopefully that will continue to occur, when this kind of subsides somewhat, but we still need to maintain our social distance. We need to wear a mask. Any ideas that any people have are certainly welcome. All they have to do is either call call me on a phone, call the commission office, come to commission meetings. We meet the first and third Tuesdays. We try to accommodate everyone so they can come to the commission meetings as well as the city council meetings. We've alternated our days. For instance, we meet at 6 o'clock in the evening on the first Tuesday of the month, and then at 10 o'clock a.m. on the third Tuesday. And that's just opposite of what the city has. But we'd be welcome to have any type of suggestions come in.
Perfect. So let's move away a little bit. I mean, COVID, and I say this often, COVID took a lot from us, but unfortunately it didn't take this daggone drug epidemic from us yet. And let's talk a little bit about that from a county commission perspective and from a leadership point. What are we doing? What do you plan to do if you're willing to get to help us continue to fight the drug epidemic here in the county? And let me tack on a couple of those. There's some questions about drug house ordinances. There's things that cities have done that have been fairly successful in terms of being able to prosecute or to work with those that either are landlords or owners of what are known drug houses. What can you help us understand about what your plans might be to help us continue to fight this thing and hopefully win?
Well, we basically, we have assisted with the sheriff's department. We have given him additional officers. He's up, I believe he's one above what the previous administration had. And of course, we're striving and planning on meeting his needs as well. Of course, we understand that really law enforcement is essential and it's needed, but realistically, that's not the whole answer. We need to get in there and do some rehabilitation as well. I think working with the judicial system, with our community corrections programs, working with some other outside agencies, we're trying to combat this. And it all starts with education. It doesn't really do any good to put someone in jail or in the regional jail for X amount of months, and not give them some rehabilitation. And I think our judicial system has done a great job with their community corrections and with other ideas that they've run and enforced, rather than just trying to incarcerate. It's education, rehabilitation, trying to change the mind, the attitude, and such. As far as the buildings, we have a very good relationship with the city of Grafton now. We communicate on a regular basis. We have, before the COVID hit, we've had quarterly meetings set up with them, the mayor and the city council. Like I said, we've met and discussed certain different issues, and that basically is one of them. We would be very supportive in anything that we can do to rehabilitate, to get this drugs under control.
Yeah, and obviously I asked the question and I say, we win the war. I mean, this is not one of these things. There's no silver bullet, and it's just the hope that we aren't an epicenter, or we aren't certainly leading the nation in some of these things, and just to improve our community. And we'll come back a little bit to the structure, because I think the question that the local folk reached out to about this was really about drug houses outside of the city, right? And so in those county areas. But I want to get to something else. We have a question come in from Sherry F on COVID again. Just a real quick back to that. What are your plans, or your principal perception on what the county can do to encourage all residents to abide by the mask and COVID guidelines that are put forth by, from national levels all down through to our county health department?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean, Alex. I mean, we've done all that we can do. We've tried to abide by all the dictates and mandates that come down from the governor all the way down through. We abide by his rules, regulations. I constantly meet and are involved with the teleconferences with the health department and the hospital and such. and we're trying to do our enforcement. We're trying to get the word out, of the seriousness and what we should be doing, and just trying to make all the tests available and do what we can to make this thing subside.
Yeah, it makes sense. So along the lines of that, kind of trying to be sensitive to people's rights and things throughout the process, and overstepping or not. But one of the things we've seen across the nation over some of this is much of the unrest and racial tensions, police issues. We've seen these across the board. Now we have been fortunate here, and I hate to even talk about it, that we haven't had anything locally like that. And I know we've got great people in those positions, and I hope. I don't anticipate we do, but from that perspective, you are a leader in the county as county commission. What are plans or things that you might be looking at or planning to enact in our county, if you are, to not only help prevent those kind of events from occurring here and being on CNN and Fox News and everything else about some nasty event, but additionally, when we talked about folks looking for communities, what else are we planning on doing to basically announce that we are an inclusive location? Is that on the roadmap for you and the commissioners? Have you had those discussions? And if you're elected to another term, will you address that? Or I guess I kind of throw that kind of potpourri of a question back out at you.
I think if the need arises, we'll address it, but we're very fortunate to live here in Taylor County. It's a very spatial place to live. I don't think that, I'm sure there are prejudices and discriminatory behaviors, everywhere. But we've been blessed that really hasn't become a headline here. I think we're more of an acceptance. We accept people no matter the race, nationality, whatever the case might be. If something would arise, we certainly would work with our sheriff's department, our city police department, our state. We would do what we had to do to make sure and to ensure the safety and well-being of each and every one of our citizens. But we would also make sure that people's rights were not violated. As long as they come in peacefully, we don't have a problem with that. That's their God-given right. That's their constitutional right. But yet on the other hand, we don't want to end up being like the state of Washington or Utah, where our city is being destroyed. We would have to take that into consideration and address the matters as they're presented.
Okay, and so let's talk about that from a growth perspective. Kind of back onto the idea of when we mentioned people maybe looking for areas to come, and even the people that are here. We can count all of us in this. Internet is, we're fortunate enough, we're communicating right now over the internet, and our signal has been good so far, but that is not the case for many people in Taylor County. I know you and I've had discussions about this. I've talked to many leaders throughout our community for years at the state level. What is it? And I just saw just yesterday, actually, Elon Musk and his low Earth orbiting satellites program called Starlink. It's been now in draft release. And so I guess from a commissioner standpoint, where does broadband sit on your priorities? And can you tell us a little bit about what you might plan to do if you're reelected in order to really give Taylor County a leg up in this broadband space?
Broadband is very high on our priority list. As a matter of fact, I currently serve as the chair of the Region 6 authority. And we are currently working on establishing a broadband authority. We have also received a grant from the state. We've hired Design 9 to come in, and they had done surveys throughout the entire county. And the response was not very well received. Okay. Matter of fact, there was only one area of the county that qualified for any type of broadband assistance. And we know that there are needs throughout the entire county. And that response was for the southwestern part of the county. But we also know out in the Knoxville area and in the Thornton area, even on Route 119 going toward Morgantown, we know that there are needs for the broadband, and we are working diligently to get this broadband throughout the county. We're going to start in that southwestern part of the county, but hopefully we can expand that on out into West Hill and out into the Webster area, bring it on down even into the Knoxville area, the Thornton area. Hopefully we can get it expand. And working on trying to not only get that one specific area, but we're trying to get grants through especially Senator Capito's office and such to enhance this program. They have the hotspots now because of the COVID. We know those don't work very well. I try to do a hotspot at my house and I have full internet service. It doesn't work that well. We need to expand and we need to get, the internet and all these services throughout the entire county. And it just takes time. I believe that surveys were sent out at the beginning of 2019. Okay. And right now we're just in the process of getting the internet workings in the southwestern part of the county. Everything just takes time. It's sad, but it just seemed like to get anything accomplished by the time you jump through all these hoops, it's just like pushing a chain uphill. But we're trying the best we can. That I believe that's high on our priority list, along with water and the sewage and the infrastructure. And realistically, broadband is now considered a part of infrastructure. And we understand that. And we are very diligently working on that.
Yeah, and I know this is your video, but I do want to take a moment. I think you'll appreciate it. That survey you're talking about, when it goes out, when people get those, maybe they don't want to fill them out because it might ask questions, but that's the way we get those grant money, right? I mean, so
that's
if somebody
exactly right, we have to have those filled out, and that's what really hampered a lot of the area in Taylor County is people didn't take it seriously. I don't know what they did with their paper, but we did not receive the results back, the surveys back.
Yeah, we'll have to do better.
And that's the same thing. We might go into another area here, Alex, for just a moment. We're wanting to extend the sewage project on the old Route 50, going out 250 there at Fetterman Bridge, out through and including Printytown, and go out toward the fairgrounds. We had to eliminate part of that because when people walked around knocking on doors to try to get the surveys completed to get the grant, people would not fill out the surveys, would not answer the door. They would slam the door into people's faces because they felt that if they gave a ballpark figure of their income, that they were violating their rights and such. But that's how we have to ask these questions to get the services that need to be provided. And we did finally, Printytown, we did finally get all those requests in and surveys in, and we're in the process now of acquiring grants and funds through Region 6 to extend that service from Printytown all the way out to the fairgrounds.
Yep.
So anytime you get a survey, it's essential that you fill it out and send it back in.
Yeah, so we'll hopefully Taylor County will do better next round that comes in. When we talk about so infrastructure, broadband's right there, and then we talk about business, growing our economic vitality here in our community. And I know different strategies have been had through the years. Everybody put an industrial park and thought every big company was going to come here and there. And so I know our strategy. Can you help us understand your strategy, your current strategy, and what would be your strategy going into the next term of how we can create additional economic life here in Taylor County? I know we have, whether that's bringing in business or incentivizing or motivating or helping out the existing businesses that are here. Just help us a little bit understand what your take is on that.
Well, we have worked with the city, and we did get the nursing home up by the Grafton City Hospital, finally settled, and that brought in a few more jobs, and we're going to be able to keep that facility. Also, during my term, when I first came on, our Economic Development Authority was not a working body. In other words, it was just there. And one of the first goals that I had was to reinstitute that EDA. And now we have, a great chairperson with Patricia Henderson, and we have some other people who are on that board and committee, and they are actively seeking businesses to come in, and we're working closely with our Economic Development Authority in doing so.
Gotcha.
And we're advertising it. We're working with, like I said, the Convention and Visitors Bureau. We're reaching out to these different entities.
And as we talk about growth, some of that is going to be, we seem poised for it in many ways and have at different parts through the years. But what are we doing? And this maybe goes back when we're talking about, drug house enforcement. This is just countywide code enforcement to be able to help design and maybe entice, but at the most part, at least have a part of designing that future growth in the county. What's your perspective on that, and what can you share with us in terms of what your plans might be in terms of, and I'm talking, most of that growth coming from the north and the west into our county, but outside of that, we may see other areas. And so what are your thoughts in terms of us actually designing some of that growth with code enforcement, those things, which again, then balances individual rights and people's property rights. And so help us understand and guide us through that in your
Well,
perspective.
what we've tried to do in the past, we've met with a few people, especially out in the Thornton area and even in the Knoxville area, and we have great concern, especially with the open dump sites and the dilapidated structures. We have, in fact, even worked with Make It Shine campaign. We have gone out and we've had people picking up trash. We even hired a company to try to keep Route 119 and then parts of Route 50 clean. We've looked at ordinances. We have reviewed ordinances. As a matter of fact, we've reviewed some ordinances and we've sent them up to our legal counsel for review. And there again, you have to be open-minded. I mean, we need to do something with, especially with the open dump sites. I mean, there's no sense in that at all. And even with some of these dilapidated structures, but you also have to be careful because we're putting taxpayers' money in private people's private property. You see what I'm saying? So we have to have an idea as to how we can recoup the monies that we spend in just taking down the dilapidated structures and such, and not violating other people's rights. So that's why we've had these ordinances, we've reviewed them from other counties, and like I said, we have sent them to our legal counsel and they're under review.
Gotcha. So as a county commissioner, we saw, as I mentioned earlier, when COVID hit, I think it exposed not only our processes but our leaders in all around our community, nationally, globally, and down to the local side. So when you look as a county commissioner, you're a leader in our community, like it or not. People are going to look to you as a visionary, as a leader of where we're going as a community. And so I just, as kind of, we're on the home stretch here. How do you stay informed? What do you read? What do you listen to? How do you make sure you are prepared for what might come next? And the reality of a leader is you don't always know what's going to come next. So share with us just a little bit of how you stay prepared.
Well, we stay closely involved with our West Virginia County Commissioners Association, and that's just a group of all the counties that come together, all the commissioners. We have biannual meetings. We have a meeting in January where we go down and we lobby the legislature and discuss ideas. Then we have a fall meeting, but we're constantly in contact with one another. And we have a great leader in Charleston with the County Commissioners Association. She keeps us well apprised. I probably get 5 or 6 emails a day from just that. Then we have the Association of Counties, which not just county commissioners, but all elected officials have an opportunity to share comments. So we try to keep apprised through those 2 organizations, as well as our local economic development authority, and we're working with the city government as closely as we can.
Gotcha.
And if anyone has any visions or anyone has any ideas, certainly they're welcome to attend our meetings. Our meetings are always open. We publicize them. They're posted on the courthouse. We put them in the newspaper. Everyone is welcome to attend. And, if they would call beforehand or even just come to the meeting and sign up, we'll give them opportunity to share their concerns, their ideas. There's 3 of us. 3 heads are better than 1, but yet on the other hand, the more heads we get involved with these, the more ideas, the more we can progress the county.
Yeah, perfect. So we have a lot of things, a lot of opportunities, a lot of challenges, a lot of everything. But I mean, so I'm not saying this is a one-trick pony or this is, we can only do one thing at a time. However, I'd like to ask you this question around your number one outcome. If we were able to sit down together, if you're able to win, and we sit down together in a few years when you're looking at a potential reelection or just at some point towards the end of your next term, if you're able to win, what would you like to say? I was able to accomplish this. Now I know it's not all you, it's a commission in the county, but what outcome could voters look to say, man, we did it. This is what we accomplished. Where can you take us in that?
As a former educator and coach, even as a current pastor and as a current county commissioner, anytime that I assume any responsibility, my main goal is to leave the place better than I found it. My number one, is infrastructure. My number one priority right now is providing goods and services to the people of Taylor County. I think if I can look back at the end of this term, or even in the middle of this term, and say, we really come a long way with this broadband authority, with reaching people in Taylor County, I think that would be a plus. That'd be a big positive. If we could get this broadband expanding clear throughout the county. Also, we're currently working with 2 different entities on providing water. I can't believe that in the 21st century, people don't have access to water. I just love to look back and say, hey, we provided X amount of families. I like to say we provided hundreds of families. Right now we're currently working with one area that has a potential between 35 to 40. We're working with another entity that has probably about the same. It'd be wonderful if we could just expand those services throughout the entire county to those who have need. I know out in the eastern end of the county, there's people who still have no water access. There's people that have to haul their water to their homes. That's ridiculous. But yet on the other hand, we have to come up with the finance, we have to come up with the grants to support and enable the projects. And the same thing with sewage. And the same thing with just selling Taylor County, to make Taylor County a vibrant part of North Central West Virginia. Like I said, we have been blessed to have one of the greatest natural resources in North Central West Virginia as our selling price. But, if I could just look back and say, hey, we had these people benefit from broadband, we provided water, we provided sewage, we really sold our city and our county, we've sold this area, we've sold all the natural resources that we've been blessed with. I think if I can look back and say something like that, I could say that we would have been successful.
Perfect. But before the last question, you just had one more come in via Facebook. Lucas asks, in terms of infrastructure, are there any long-term plans, or are you a part of any planning for a 4-lane highway to I-68 or I-79 for that matter from our county?
We really have, with all this COVID and everything that's come up, we haven't really discussed anything of that nature.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Orville, as is, you've done this a few times, as is our custom. We like to give the candidate the last word. So what is it you'd like to tell the people of Taylor County?
I'd like to tell the people of Taylor County that I certainly do appreciate the opportunity that I've had to serve them. I've served them as a teacher and as a coach, as a dean of students, as a principal at Grafton High School. I served Taylor County for 30 years in the educational system. I was also pastor at First Baptist Church of Grafton for 11 years, till God called me to another position. I'm currently serving as county commissioner, and I certainly do ask for their support and their continued faith in the endeavors that we work together with. I just know that everything's in the good Lord's hands. God's going to take care of Taylor County no matter what, but I certainly would like to be a vibrant part of that plan that he has. And I ask the people of Taylor County to get out and vote. And I hope when you do go out and vote, that you vote right, that you vote for me.
Perfect. Orville Wright, Taylor County Commission, thank you and good luck. And to all of you that are listening, thank you for those who participated live with us, and those that are watching at home. We're glad you are tuning in. Hopefully this is of value to you. If you have ideas or thoughts on how we can make these better or more valuable to you, we'd love to hear it. But Election Day, November 3rd, it's coming. And we love it that you're here trying to inform yourself, be an informed voter, because that is the magic that makes our republic work. So thank you all. And Orville, good luck on the race.
Thank you, Alex. And thank you for all that you do for the county.
Absolutely. Thanks.